on Gold FM.
A very good evening, I'm Dimitri Jarwardana with your news in detail on Gold FM. In your headlines, dual citizens can be office bearers, says former Election Commission Chair. Sri Lanka's green drive facing too much red tape, says experts. President revisits the dark days in parliamentary address, urges unity. Vehicle import resumption closer than ever. In your headlines overseas, Russia's Putin says arrogant West risking global conflict.
The top story on Gold FM.
Sri Lanka's green entrepreneurship shows much promise, but the red tape surrounding the industry must be relaxed. These were the views of two visiting experts in the sector who were engaged with green startups based in Sri Lanka for the Solar X Startup Challenge 2024, organized by the International Solar Alliance in collaboration with Invest India. In a bid to know more about the topic, our reporter Dulya De Silva sat down with Pragya Gupta of the ISA and Rachit Rajvansi of Invest India.
Solar X Startup Challenge. Who is it for and what does it hope to achieve?
The Solar X Startup Challenge was launched at COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh last year, and through this challenge we aim to promote solar innovations on ground. We got about 180 applicants last year from 28 countries in Africa, and this year we hope to launch it for the Asia and Pacific region.
So this year we have 30 plus countries from the Asian Pacific, which covers countries from Dubai, Saudi Arabia, all to the Australia, Papua New Guinea and Fiji. Again, the aim is that we are inviting startups to apply for the applications which are open and will end till 15th of May to apply to the challenge. And there is a list of problem statements. So we have 10 problem statements which covers the whole solar ecosystem. So even if the startup is not directly working towards solar energy, let's say they are working towards fintech, or if they are working towards any software offering which can help the solar ecosystem grow, then they are pretty much welcome to apply for the challenge.
Speaking further on the aim of the project, this is what Pragya Gupta had to say.
Is to boost innovation on ground, and secondly to promote solar innovations through technical and financial enhancement, and obviously to promote solar because International Solar Alliance is working to mobilize resources for solar across the globe.
Considering that the team from the Solar X Challenge had been in touch with several startups from Sri Lanka, we asked how the Sri Lankan contestants matched up against competitors from other countries.
Right now is in a very nascent stage, and when it comes to renewable energy, it's starting up, because renewable is a field where it requires some capital, right, to be invested in. But considering the resources that Sri Lanka right now has, I think the guys are doing really great. Today itself we visited the Hatch incubation center. We met with some really awesome startups. The facility is really great, and we are hoping to get some good number of applications from Sri Lanka.
The question of accessibility was also on the cards. Our experts believed something more than just financing was vital if green entrepreneurship was to advance.
Say on the level of market and financing access afforded to Sri Lankan businesses to go green, and where can private businesses turn to, in your opinion?
So I think that's a great question, because one of the key concerns for any startup in any country is to scale up in terms of getting finances. We as ISA, as the International Solar Alliance, are launching global products, one which is the Solar X Startup Challenge and the other one which is the Global Solar Facility, which actually pools in investments from different countries across the globe and then channels it to various partners, projects and of course entrepreneurs on ground, so that they can benefit directly from these resources. The second mode of investment is through grants. And I think we're very thankful to various donors ranging from the Sequoia Climate Foundation, from the Children's Investment Fund Foundation, to the likes of GAP, which are working globally and have offices across the globe, who are helping us in funding these startups on ground. Through the Solar X Startup Challenge, we are giving a cash reward of USD 15,000 each. But that's a very minuscule amount as compared to the scale-up innovations. But they will get a platform wherein they will be talking to investors through various, I would say, cohorts, and also scaling up their finances, not as a loan, but also as a grant-based mechanism.
And along with financing, Dudia, there's one more very important factor which comes into play, which is mentorship, right? So just like Pragya mentioned, that all these startups who will win the challenge will get 15,000 USD each. Along with that, they will also be inducted into a 3-month-long acceleration program, which is a hybrid program where we will conduct virtual sessions weekly. Plus, we will also have physical sessions where the startups will be they will be traveling to various different countries, understanding their ecosystem, understanding, learning from their ecosystem, how they can grow, how they can expand, and how they can come up with new technologies which they can incorporate into their countries itself. So that is another bit, and I would say that is 50% of the second part of the challenge, where we, provide startup with those means, with those tools, so that they can, grow and expand into different geographies.
Gupta and Rajvanshi were in agreement on the role played by governments in making the lives of startups easier, with Rajvanshi bringing up a pertinent example of growth from India.
Regulatory frameworks, government intervention, these play a very, very crucial role in setting up an ecosystem for any country. So for example, when in 2016 our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi launched the Startup India initiative, right? At that point of time, if I'm not wrong, there were around only 3,000 plus startups in the country, right? But now we are standing at more than 1,30,000 plus startup in the country itself. So it all comes down to how the government, what initiative the government is taking, and how they are trying to solve the problem that startup face from in their day-to-day lives.
All that in mind, what do our experts want Sri Lankan startups to remember? These were the sentiments of Rachit Rajvanshi of Invest India.
Plus startups yesterday, and we also met, I think, 10 plus startups today at the Hedge Incubation Facility. I see there's a tremendous potential in the startups, and the ideas and the technologies on which they are working, they can be really the next big thing. So one thing I would really urge the startup is not to get demoralized if something just does not work for them, because that's how an entrepreneur's journey is, that you just have to stand back again and again. Does not matter what happens to you or what might be there in the back for you, but keep be adamant that no, I'll have to do it and I'll have to achieve it, and eventually it will happen for you. And as to the renewable ecosystem in Sri Lanka, I think there's a tremendous potential. One of the startups whom we met yesterday, brilliant. What they are doing is they are creating movable solar homes, right? So it's a very, very good idea. They are using it for the tourism industry, and I think it has numerous applications where it can be used. So keep on going, guys, and I think this is the era, this is the time. Do put your heads, do put your hands on it, and just achieve whatever you are you think you can.
In the meantime, Pragya Gupta of the ISA had a word of advice for female entrepreneurs.
Messages that I'd like to say. One is going to be to the women entrepreneurs, because even in the African Solar Startup Challenge, we had 7 women entrepreneurs who were leading startups from different parts of Africa. Just go for it, take the lead, and never say a no. I think you should just set your targets, and sky's the limit. And maybe I can end by one quote, which was by Roald Dahl, which keeps me going, which says that my candle burns at both the ends, but it will not last the night. But are my foes and oh my friends, it should always give a lovely light. So maybe that should be the major motto of every startup that one has, because at the end, a startup is your baby, and a startup is what creates an impact on ground.
This has been part 1 of our interview with the experts from SolarX, and stay tuned for more.
This is the local news on Gold FM.
Former State Minister Diana Gamage was slapped with an overseas travel ban today. It comes a day after she was disqualified from Parliament via a Supreme Court decision on the basis of not being a Sri Lankan citizen. The order was issued by the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court. The relevant case pertaining to the provision of false details to the Controller General of Immigration and obtaining a passport was taken up. Social activist Oshula Herath and legal representatives of the Samagi Janabalawegya called for the travel ban. The legal representative of Oshla Herat noted that the Supreme Court had deemed Gamage to be a British citizen. He added that she arrived in the country with a British passport and then proceeded to produce fake details and obtained a diplomatic passport and an official passport in Sri Lanka. He stressed that Gamage should be named as a suspect in obtaining fake passports, and she has 3 passports in her possession. Thus he called for a foreign travel ban on Diana Gamage. After considering the facts submitted by all parties concerned, the court deemed that Gamage fleeing the country would hamper the court proceedings regarding the case and issued a travel ban. Meanwhile, the former State Minister of Tourism organized a media briefing today in response to her being unseated in Parliament. In the interest of clarity, we have refrained from dubbing, and this is what she said.
මේ ශේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයෙන් ඊයේ දීපු නඩු තීන්දුව ඇත්තටම පිළිගැනීමට පුළුවන් කමක් නැහැ මට හේතු කීපයක් මත මොකද මම මේක දැක්කේ විනිශ්චයකරුතුමාලාගේ වැඩිය මේකේ පිටිපස්සේ තිබුණ කුමන්ත්‍රණය. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ දේශපාලන කුමන්ත්‍රණය සහ මේකේ පිටිපස්සේ ඉන්නවා මේ සජබේ ඉන්න නායකතුමා මහලේකම් කියා ගන්නා ඒ වගේ කොටසක් ඉන්නවා. නමුත් මේ ඉන්නවා 4-5 දෙනෙක් මෙතන පෞගේ කාලේ අපි දැක්ක පාර්ලිමේන්තු තුල වෙච්ච දේවල් මට අසභ්‍ය වචන කියපු දේවල් මේ ඔක්කොම තිබුණේ එක්ක මේ ඉන්න කොටසක තිබ්බ වෛරී දේශපාලනය ඊයේ ශේෂ්ඨාධිකරණ තීන්දුවෙන් අපි දැක්කා. මට කියන්න ඕන මේ රටේ ජනතාවට විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ රටේ 52%ක කාන්තාවන්ට මතක තියාගන්න මම කාන්තාවක් මට පමණක් නෙමෙයි මේ පහර දුන්නේ. මේ රටේ සමස්ත කාන්තාවෝ සියලු දෙනාටම මේ පහරක් දුන්නේ. පුදුමාකාර සටනක යෙදුණා. මේක අවුරුදු 4ක් තිස්සේ යන සටනක්. වෛරී දේශපාලනය අද ජයගත්තා. අදට විතරක් ජයගත්තා කියලා තමයි මට කියන්න තියෙන්නේ.
When asked if she intends to do anything against the Supreme Court decision, Gamage had this to say.
එරෙහිව කියන්නේ මම මගේ දැනට නීතිඥවරු සමග කතා කරගෙන යනවා. ඉතින් ඒ නීතිඥවරු දන්න නීතිය අනුව මේ රටේ නීතිය අනුව ඒකට අපීල් එකකට යන්න පුළුවන් නම් ඔව් මම ඒක අපීල් කරන්න ලෑස්තියි.
When quizzed on her political future, the former state minister was rather defiant.
පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රීවරියක්ම වෙන්න ඕන දෙයක් නෙමෙයි. මොකද දැන් මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව වැඩි කාලයකට ඉස්සෙල්ලා මම හිතනවා විසිරුවා හැරිය යුතුයි. මොකද ලබන අවුරුද්ද වෙනකොට මේකට අවුරුදු 5ක් පිරෙනවා. ඉතින් මට සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මාස කිහිපයක් පාර්ලිමේන්තු ගමන නැති වුණා. ඉදිරි දේශපාලනයට මම අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම එනවා.
She also questioned the timing of the issue, saying that at the inception there was no issue pertaining to her citizenship status for the Samagi Jonabalawegaya, noting that it was the reason the party kept her as an MP of the party. The former SJB parliamentarian also posed an interesting question.
මේ කියලා නෙමෙයි තීන්දුව දීලා තියෙන්නේ. දිත්ත පුරවැසියෙකුත් නෙමෙයි. මේ රටේ පුරවැසියෙකුත් නෙමෙයි කියන එක තමයි කියන්නේ. එහෙමනම් මට අහන්න ඕනේ ඔය එංගලන්තේ ඉන්න මහරජිනිගේ කවුරු හරි ඔය එහෙ ඉන්න පුරවැසියෙක් මේ ලංකාවට ඇවිල්ලා පක්ෂයක් හදලා නමක් දාලා ඒකේ මහලේකම් වෙලා කාට හරි ඒ පක්ෂය පවරනවා නම් ඒකේ නීති අනුකූල භාවය මොකද්ද? වෙන රටක පුරවැසියන්ට ඇවිල්ලා ලංකාවේ දේශපාලනය කරන්න එනම් පුළුවන්ද? මේ තීරණය මෙහෙමනම් ඒ පක්ෂය අවලංගුයි. මොකද මහලේකම් හැටියට අපේ ජාතික පෙරමුණේ ඒ පක්ෂය පැවරුවේ මම මගේ අස්සනේ. අනිත් එකේ පක්ෂය ගැන විශාල අර්බුද ටිකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ අර්බුද ටිකත් මේ පක්ෂයේ නීති අනුකූල බවත් මේ පක්ෂය හදපු විදිහත් කොහොමද කියන්නේ ඉදිරියට මම කියනවා.
To get an understanding of this situation, we spoke to former chairman of the Election Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya. His view was that there are no legal provisions at present preventing a foreign national or a dual citizen registering a political party or being office bearers in Sri Lanka. However, this will have to be looked at going forward. He also stressed that the Election Commission does not have power to investigate an election candidate, and thus Gamage's questionable citizenship status did not come up with the Commission's radar.
Any rule to stop non-citizens to register political party. Now, but after that Savila Monaginia's incident, Commissioner is very serious and next identity got tougher. That's all we can do. We can't have an inquiry like the Supreme Court to prove their citizenship. Only thing they will submit the national identity card. That is the case. Mrs. Diana Gamage has an identity card and a Sri Lankan passport. What to do? So the main thing I think what we address and the national identity card number and ask people to challenge if there is any dual citizen or non-citizen challenge it. Other than no way. And Parliament can pass a new law that commands all the political party office bearer must be Sri Lankan citizen.
In the meantime, the presidential elections will take place between the 17th of September and 16th of October. This was revealed by the chairman of the Election Commission, RMEL Ratnayaka, in a communique issued today. The chairman of the commission also stated the nominees for the presidential election will be called within the specified period in accordance to the provisions of the relevant act of the Constitution. Meanwhile, the Secretary-General of the Parliament informed the Election Commission that a parliamentary seat has become vacant from yesterday due to the cancellation of the parliamentary seat held by former MP Diana Gamage. Vehicle importers are expected to provide State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siambalapitiya with a special report on the removal of vehicle import restrictions and the possible impact. The minister stated that this report will have a significant impact on the resumption of vehicle imports. A discussion between the Vehicle Importers Association and the minister was held at the Finance Ministry today. Accordingly, the importers suggested that it would prove more practical to import the vehicles under several categories instead of importing the vehicles all at once, emphasizing that it is more practical to give permission for the imported vehicles needed for public transport, used vehicles, private vehicles in parts. Meanwhile, matters pertaining to the problematic situation that has arisen regarding the payment of taxes was also discussed at length. 2 retired army personnel, a major general and a sergeant major, were arrested by the CID in Kurunegala pertaining to the alleged trafficking of Sri Lankans to be deployed in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. This was stated earlier today by police media spokesperson DIG Nihal Taldua. The police spokesperson also revealed that 6 Sri Lankans in Russia and 2 in Ukraine have lost their lives, while 60 Sri Lankans have been sent to Russia and 23 to Ukraine by human traffickers to be deployed in the Ukraine-Russian conflict so far. The Ministry of Defence had previously revealed that a number of retired Sri Lankan soldiers joining in through human traffickers were being deployed as mercenaries in the conflict and that they were being led on to travel abroad on false pretexts of employment and finances. Secretary of the Defence Ministry General Kamal Gunaratne and Chief of Defence Staff General Shavendra Silva both have expressed their concerns over ex-military personnel being succumbed to being mercenaries in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, urging the war veterans to resist the appeal of easy money and fleeting fame. President Ranil Wickremesinghe's special statement in Parliament today reflected on the dark days that followed since Sri Lanka was plunged into default status. Making his address, the President emphasized that Sri Lanka has the potential to become a developed country in the world if Sri Lankans can unite for progress. Speaking on the backdrop of his taking the mantle as the country's top officer, this is what the President had to say, in its original Sinhala for posterity.
මේ මෙහෙවර මම බාරගත්තාට පස්සේ ආර්ථිකයේ සැබෑ තත්ත්වය පිළිබඳ සියලු තොරතුරු මම වරින් වර මේ සභාව හමුවේ ගෙනහැර දැක්වුවා. පසුගිය වසර දෙක තිස්සේම මම ආර්ථිකය සහ අනාගත ආර්ථික සැලසුම් ගැන කරුණු ඔබ හමුවේ ඉදිරිපත් කළා. මට බාරගත්තේ ගිනිගත්තු රටක්, අපායට වැටුණු රටක්, හැකිලුණු ආර්ථිකයක්, උද්දමනයේ 70%යි. අයවැය හිඟිය දළදේශීය නිෂ්පාදනයෙන් 100ක් වඩා වැඩි අගයකට වැඩි වෙලා. පොලි අනුපාතය 30ක් දක්වා ඉහළ නැංවිලා. ඩොලරයේ රුපියල් 450ක් පමණ මට්ටමට වැඩි වෙලා. විදේශ විනිමය සංචතිය බිඳුවට වැටිලා. සතියක් තරම් කාලයක්වත් ආහාර සහ අත්‍යවශ්‍ය ද්‍රව්‍ය ආනයනය කරන්න සල්ලි තිබුණේ නැහැ. රටේ බහුතරයක් හිටියේ පාරේ. රටත් ආර්ථිකයත් යලි ගොඩනැගීමේ අභියෝගය මම බාරගත්තේ යන්නේ එවැනි පසුබිමකයි.
President Wickremesinghe also reflected on some rather unpopular reforms that were taken as of late, which he believes were necessary for the country to come out of instability.
පාලනයට පියවර රැසක් ගත්තා. විවිධ භාණ්ඩ හා සේවාවල මිල ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණ රාශියක් සිදු කරා. රාජ්‍ය ආදායම් පැවතියේ දලදේශීය නිෂ්පාදිතයේ 8%ක් තරම් පහළ මට්ටමකයි. දලදේශීය නිෂ්පාදනයෙන් 20%ක තරම් වන රාජ්‍ය වියදම් කළමනාකාරය කර ගැනීමට එම රාජ්‍ය ආදායම කිසිසේත් ප්‍රමාණවත් නැහැ. එම නිසා රාජ්‍ය ආදායම් වැඩි කර ගැනීමට කටයුතු කිරීම හැර වෙනත් විකල්පයක් තිබුණේ නැහැ. මේ තුවක්කල් සිටි බොහෝ ආණ්ඩු රස්සා දුන්නේ පඩි වැඩි කරේ. ඉන්ධන, විදුලිය හා ජලය ආදී සේවා අඩුවට දුන්නේ අයවැය හිඟ පියවා ගත්තේ පිට රටවලට ණය වෙලා. නැත්නම් සල්ලි අච්චු ගහලා. අපි ඒ තත්ත්වය වෙනස් කරා.
All in all, the president was of the belief that unity would be the only way forward.
පිළිවෙලට සාර්ථක බව ප්‍රතිවාදී දේශපාලන කණ්ඩායම් දවසින් දවස ඒත්තු ගනිමින් සිටීම යහපත් කරුණක්. අවුරුදු සමයේ සමුපකාර අලවිහල් වල සෙනග පොදි කන පින්තූර දමා ඒ සමුපකාර වල ආදායම් දිනෙන් දින වැඩි වෙන බව දක්වන අදහස් අප සමාජ මාධ්‍ය ජාලාවෙන් දැක්කා. යම් යම් දේශපාලන අරමුණු වෙනුවෙන් තමයි මේ පින්තූර සහ අදහස් දාලා තිබුණේ. නමුත් එයින් පිළිගුණ වෙන සත්‍ය තමයි ජනතාව මීට අවුරුදු 2කට කලින් සිටි තත්වයට වඩා යහපත් තත්වයක ඉන්නවා කියන එක. එදාට වඩා තරමක් හෝ අතමිටි බව. මම මේ රට වෙනුවෙන් අභියෝගාත්මක මෙහෙවර බාරගත් අවස්ථාවේ මට ගමන් කරන්න සිදු වී ඇත්තේ වැල්පාලමක බව මම සඳහන් කරා. මේ අවස්ථාවේදී ගණන් නොගත් අය පවා දේ බව පිළිගන්නවා. ඒකෙන් පෙනෙන්නේ වැල්පාලම මග හැර අපට වෙන විකල්පයක් නැහැ. මේ මග හැර වෙන මගක් නොමැති බව ඒ අයත් අද පවසනවා. මම නැවතත් කියනවා අපේ ආර්ථිකය යලි ගොඩනංවන්නට මේ මග හැර වෙන මගක් නැහැ. අන්න ඒ නිසා තමයි මේ ආර්ථික ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණ වැඩපිළිවෙල පිළිබඳ පොදු එකතාවයක් පොදු සම්මතියක් අවශ්‍ය බව හැම විටම කියන්නේ.
Now for some news in brief.
Former CEO of the National Medicines Regulatory Authority, Dr. Vijitha Gunasekara, implicated in the alleged importation of substandard immunoglobulin, was remanded until the 20th. The interim injunction issued by the Colombo District Court preventing former President Maithripala Sirisena functioning as the chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party following a complaint by former President Chandrika Bandaranaike was extended till the 29th.
The business news on Gold FM.
Sri Lanka stocks have gained a positive outcome today, with the main all-share price index increasing to 0.35% or 43.33 points to end the day on 12,396.90 points. The S&P SL20 index also increased today, going up 0.89% or 32.40 points to end the day on 3,672.78 points. The top three gainers of today are Lanka Reality Investments PLC, Abans Electricals PLC and United Motors PLC, while the top three losers are Renuka Foods PLC, SMB Finance PLC and Nation Lanka Finance PLC. The total market turnover for the day was 2.8 billion rupees. Approval was granted on the 7th of May by the Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka for the delisting of Expo Lanka Holdings PLC. This decision was made following the application made by the company on the 3rd of April at an exit offer price of ₹185 per share. The shareholders at an EGM on the 27th of March approved the delisting worth 63 billion rupees. Furthermore, Expo Lanka stated that it will take all necessary actions to complete the process expeditiously and will shortly get in touch with all the shareholders in respect of the offer document. Dialog Axiata PLC announced yesterday the details of the share swap for its merger with Airtel Lanka. Accordingly, the share swap basis will be 5,041 Dialog Axiata shares for every 642,966 shares held by Bharti. Consequently, under the proposed transaction, Dial will acquire 121,513,646,771 ordinary shares in BAIL from its parents for consideration to be paid by the issuance of 952,694,689 new ordinary voting shares for 10.35% stake in Dialog. Following the completion of the acquisition, the company proposed to amalgamate itself with BAL, with Dialog remaining as the amalgamated entity. The parties announced they have signed a definite agreement to combine their operations. following the approval by the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission of Sri Lanka on the 18th of April.
International news on Gold FM.
Russian President Vladimir Putin accused the arrogant West of risking a global conflict, warning the nuclear power's strategic forces are combat-ready as he marked the Soviet victory over Germany in World War II. Speaking today at Moscow's Red Square before thousands of soldiers dressed in ceremonial attire, Putin said that Western elites had forgotten the Soviet Union's role in defeating Nazism and were now stoking conflict around the world. Victory Day has become Russia's most important public holiday as Putin puts the country firmly on a combat footing. Evoking the Second World War, the president had repeatedly framed Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022 as an existential battle against Nazism.
Entertainment news on Gold FM.
Spotify revealed that UK artists have generated £750 million in royalties on its platform last year, and almost 1,000 artists were streamed enough to generate £100,000 in royalties each. Those figures were revealed in Spotify's Loud and Clear campaign, which aims to promote transparency in the music industry.
Sports news on Gold FM.
In yesterday's game against Bayern Munich, Real Madrid player Joselu scored 2 late goals to win the match for the Spanish team and push them to the Champions League finals. Coming off an 81st minute substitution with Bayern in the lead by 1 goal, Joselu scored off a missed attempt from his teammate Vinicius Jr. in the 88th minute of the match, then 2 minutes later scored again off an assist from Antonio Rudiger. The final score of the match was 2-1, with Real Madrid having an aggregate victory of 4-3 over Munich. The 14-time European champions Real Madrid will face Borussia Dortmund at the Wembley Stadium on June 1st. And that's all for now. Have a pleasant evening.